Hello and welcome to the Arsenal BiteSize Podcast. We're here to look at the return to the Champions League, big 4-0 victory after 6 long years against PSV at the Emirates on Wednesday night, I want to say.
Yeah,
And
Wednesday.
then and then I'm obviously FPL Nima, joined with co-host Clayton at Clayton AFC on Twitter. And we're also going to preview the big North London derby this Sunday. So two very exciting topics to sink our teeth into this morning. Happy Friday to you all. Shout out to Hassan in the chat as well. Thanks for tuning in,
Hey,
buddy.
mate.
And yeah, how was it, Clayton? How was it being at the Emirates after all these long years? Just did you hear the music? How did you react? Like,
It was so good, man. I think obviously as soon as we kind of put Everton away the other day, my mind just went straight into Wednesday. And obviously I've had like Spurs in the back of my mind all week, but just the PSV game Wednesday was forefront of my mind. And it was just one of those at work, like you're kind of buzzing all day, you can't wait, you're kind of consuming content around it, hearing the Champions League songs. You watch some of the games on Tuesday, that whets the appetite. And it was just such a perfect night. Like, went straight from work to the game, met a couple of friends for a few drinks. And I never do this, but I literally went into the ground like so early. I'm always in the pubs around the corner and stuff, pre-drinking, kind of getting the sing-songs going. And I just wanted to be inside the ground. I didn't want anything to potentially make me miss any of the pre-match stuff. And even like, I'm usually like one of the last guys in their seat sort of thing. Like, I'll literally get in like 2 minutes before kickoff, whereas I think I was in my seat like 20 minutes before. Like, usually I'm in block 6, which is where the North Bank is for people that don't know. And there's a few people there that really get a sing-song going like every match pre-game in the concourse, and like I love going and being in and around that. It's just such good vibes. And even that, I left that at like 7:30 to go to my seat for an 8 o'clock kickoff. I never do that. And then obviously you get to your seat, and it's just in general the vibes were just amazing. And like there was one specific moment I'll get onto. It was like, oh shit, yeah, this is sick. That's so like kind of got into my seat. Vibes are good. Like, stadium's looking full. And I think because everyone had like the same mindset of just getting your seat early and kind of soak it all in, sort of thing. And then the Angel played. Obviously, they played that earlier because they can't play that as the last song before kickoff. It has to be the anthem, right? So the Angel starts, the whole stadium singing that. The vibes are good. And then the players come out and they're lining up, right? And the Champions League, like they're waving the Champions League flag thing in the center circle, and it's like you're starting to get goosebumps. And then the music hits, yeah, and the whole stadium just cheered, and it was fucking sick. It was just like one of those where you know you're excited to hear it for the first time after so long. But it was just like there was a 0.5 seconds where you hear the this is and then it was just a way, and it was
it sounded
so
like a
good.
massive roar on the TV at
Is
home.
that how it came across?
Yeah, it was like once the kind of song ended, it was just like this huge roar and applause, and it just felt like a cauldron.
Yeah, that's what it was. I think for me, it wasn't even like the raw was quality. There was just something about when the song initially started and everyone cheered, and then you kind of carried on with the rest of it. And then, like you say, that raw, and yeah, the atmosphere, like it was a cauldron. Like, in periods, obviously, when you're in a game state like we were, where it's quite comfortable, obviously, you're not going to kind of go like full guns blazing as a crowd sort of thing. But yeah, it was so good, and obviously the performance kind of matched it as well, right? It was just so nice seeing like Bukayo Saka have space to attack and not be trebled up on, and just seeing the team actually give us space to kind of do our thing, which we've not really had in a while. But yeah, such a good night, amazing performance. Just yeah, I thought. Do you know what? I'm not going to be Debbie Downer. I was just going to say I thought there was a few moments where we didn't look our best defensively, and I think better opposition could have got at us, but they didn't, right? And I think it's one of those we probably were aware of their threat in what they could do to us, but we just knew our strength and depth and our quality, and it shone through. And of course, it had to be Saka to kind of take us.
I couldn't believe the early goal. It was like it's almost like the marketing team were being given their ultimate dream. It's like
I
they'd
heard
almost
someone
been
else
told
say
like,
that
please
on a
go do
pod.
this.
Yeah,
I think it was, yeah, because that's where I got it from. I think it was is it James Gunnerblog or Arsblog? One of
gosh,
these
I
guys were
can't
like,
remember.
yeah, they were kind of like, oh, like it's almost like it was scripted in a way. It's like they've been told make sure it's Saka who scores so that We can talk about our academy kid who's brought us from the dumps of 4 or 5 years ago to where we are now. He's been there through the whole journey, right? Like, I think if he starts, which I'm sure he will on Sunday, it will be, I think, his 86th consecutive Premier League appearance, which is by far the longest of anyone in the division. Like, I think the next player is on like 67. It's the most of any Arsenal player ever in our history. The guy just turned 22. This is insane.
I know. I think for me, that's what I tweeted as well. Like, it was so fitting where, like, when he came into the first team, obviously he was a baby, but he was a man at the same time in the sense of like his consistency and how much he was coming up in the clutch moments. It was in a really disorientated team tactically and personality wise, and he just carried the team on his back. Obviously, there was that tweet that everyone was kind of retweeting doing the rounds this week where I think it was like December 2020, he tweeted like, "You deserve better, Arsenal fans." And like the fact that it was him, where he's just been the ever present in this journey of taking us from the depths of like mid-table Premier League team, slowly getting back to Europe's elite, where we're now the fourth favorite to win the fucking Champions League. Like, and the fact that it's sometimes just fate. And even Odegaard balling out, like everyone was just, it was a
the whole
joy to
front
watch.
four got a goal, like of the starting front four, all of them like got a goal.
Yeah, it was the perfect evening, and some
early
of the goals
subs as well, right? But like even like when you look at it, like every single person that you think will start on the weekend got subbed around 60 minutes.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I said in I can't remember what pod. It was either our one or like a Planet FPL one I did, but people were asking me how do I think Arteta will rotate, and I was like, I don't think he will. I think he'll go strong, and I think he'll look to kind of get the goals on the board, and then look to flex the muscles of the squad. And like even when Smith Rowe, this was class when they because obviously we're in a comfortable winning game state, and you see him get summoned to the bench, and the whole crowd just started cheering. And then everyone's singing the Saka and Smith Rowe chant, and the vibes were just. I feel like because of the opposition we've played this season, we've not been able to have vibes other than obviously United's winner. But I mean, like generally, I don't think we've been able to just kind of coast through a game yet. And this was one where it was like we were able to just coast, like we were comfortably the better team. We were creating chances, scoring goals, and then you kind of just get the champagne football to enjoy it. What a fucking night, man. And then I don't know if the rain came across on the telly, but I don't think I've ever been soaked like that at a football game in my life. It was like I had 4 layers on, and I was like my boxers were absolutely drenched. My poor
journey
genitals,
home with everyone else in the same situation, steamy train home. Like God,
yeah, but wouldn't
like,
change
it was
for the
worth
world.
it though. But exactly, it was worth it.
My jeans are still on the fucking drying rack drying. It's Friday afternoon, and it's like it's been 2 days.
How did the line? I'm just trying to think of the because obviously on the Wednesday we did the review of last weekend's game and we predicted our lineups and score lines for the Champions League, right? And I'm trying to think if there was anyone that started that we didn't expect. I guess
so. I think we both got Ramsdale wrong.
Yeah, so we got the Ramsdale wrong. Yeah, for sure, Ramsdale wrong.
So yeah, that's an interesting one because
so that's worth talking about because so there was the Raya piece and Zinchenko. I think I'd said that I thought he would start but be subbed early.
Same. Yeah.
So I think we were probably on
I
the same page.
I did throw out about the Tomiyasu potential, but I think in my predicted lineup for that fan hub app, I put Zinchenko. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I think I'd said when you made that point, I was like maybe Tommy comes in to like close out the game.
Yeah.
And we're talking about how he's generally been quite a good first sub. It's a bit different to bringing on Holding to keep a lead. Bringing on Tomiyasu to hold the lead does feel a bit better. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah,
it's like a whole different type of level to our game now. But having Jesus starts, I think the 2 players I really want to talk about.
He's a joke, isn't he?
The North London derby is Raya and Jesus, because those two, I think, they're the 2 that we've not seen so much of this season, right? Like Jesus has been slowly creeping back in, and then also obviously Havertz. I do want to talk about a little bit because he played 2 different roles in the game, and I thought that was interesting as well. I think it was probably one of his better games for us, including the Community Shield. I would say this one was when he went to the second half to like the striker position. I felt like he was finding some really good like half space runs and he was getting into good positions, but you could still see that lack of confidence. I felt like he was passing off the ball at times when he could have maybe tried a shot. And then Odegaard's the total opposite, right?
Yeah.
He's now the guy who like just takes the
Oh,
game
we've
by the
not.
scruff of the neck, and he's
We
taking
haven't
so
even
many
bloody
shots.
acknowledged that he's signed his contract. Like,
Oh yeah, 5 years. Yeah,
another elite social media video from the social media team had me
they're having a
in
good
tears
week,
a little
aren't
bit.
they?
Yeah, but
So yeah,
that's
let's talk
great
about
news as well.
Raya, Jesus, and then Odegaard, I think, and then we can preview the North London derby. But I think those three players I'd be really keen to discuss from the Champions League perspective. So do you want to start with Raya? Because obviously we both thought Ramsdale might start
Yeah.
because then Ramsdale would start the North London derby. So, but now there's a few question marks, right? So the first question mark is: did Raya start in the league so he wouldn't go and cold to the Champions League and he's going to play Champions League, or did he play Champions League to build up that momentum with the squad because he's not played since May and he had no preseason either? Was he building up with the squad so he will still be starting next weekend and he is now going to play? I know your view is we will rotate the keepers more often than just
Well,
having a number one,
I
but what are you
thought that
thinking after these last two games?
yeah, I think for me it's quite clear that. I mean, I still think every now and then there will be the odd rotation, but a lot. Like, I think for me it's quite clear Arteta kind of trusts and rates. Not trusts. That's hard because he's not been here long, but he rates Raya better than Ramsdale, I think. And to be honest, I'm the same. Like, I'm unapologetically in the camp of I believe Raya is a better goalkeeper for this Arsenal Football Club than Aaron Ramsdale, and like I'm unapologetic in that. I've been consistent in my critique of Ramsdale for a period in time, and like I don't think he's a bad keeper. I just thought personally it's an area that we could get a lot more out of, and it's little things like when a shot goes into Raya, he never punches it, he's catching it, and then as a result you can circulate and build again. Ramsdale punches it out, and this isn't shitting on Ramsdale, it's just to illustrate why I believe Raya is better suited for us in this moment.
And why he's maybe
Sure,
taking that
for
spot,
for
yeah.
what it's worth, I don't think Raya was as flawless as what people were making out the other day. Like I thought he booted the ball out a couple of times. Yeah, he wasn't perfect, but I just think
Yeah, I did
it's
notice that. There was a lot of kind of like just kick outs for throw-ins to the
yeah,
opposition. It did
but
happen a few times.
it's just the subtle differences in it's like in possession, he will do that kind of thing where he just stands on the ball and he'll wait, he'll let the opposition move, like kind of how Brighton play chicken with the opposition, I like to say. He'll do that, and then you get overloads, you get numerical advantage in zones as a result. Ramsdale looks to punch it quicker and more urgently, sort of thing. And I just think if you look at the theme of control, Raya gives you more control than Ramsdale, in my opinion. And I think for me personally, it's quite clear where Arteta's at. And I think Ramsdale will still get, like, I don't think it's going to be a Premier League versus Cup keeper sort of thing. I just think Raya's the guy that Arteta thinks gives us what he wants right now. What about you? Where are you at on it?
So people talk about ruthlessness, and like I'm almost a bit surprised by people being surprised at Arteta's ruthlessness. He's been like this from day one.
Yeah.
Like he's always been ruthless. He came in and he got rid of the players that he didn't think were right or weren't fully committed, right? When you're in a situation like us, right? You just said we were like on the odds, were fourth favourites for the UCL. When you're at that level, when you pushed Man City in the Prem last season, you can't just kind of wait for players to reach their ceiling 2-3 years from now. Like,
This is what I've been
yeah,
saying for the last year. Like Ramsdale's ceiling and potential is different to the reality and what he is right now.
yeah. And I think we said this before the preview. Obviously, we thought Ramsdale would start, but one of the things we discussed on Wednesday's pod was we were talking about the idea that Ramsdale was an improvement in ball playing ability on Leno and Martinez and these guys, but ultimately now it feels like Raya's an improvement, and it's just that marginal improvement in the position. If the rest of the 11 looks pretty like solid, you can't underestimate the impact it has overall on the rest of the team. And we're in a world now where there are goalkeepers getting more touches than centre forwards in games. Not Gabriel Jesus, he's everywhere. But if you look at other teams, like you look at like an Edison, he's going to be getting more touches than Haaland in a game.
Yeah.
A lot of these teams that play out from the back and possession-based teams, they go like, Onana, we talked about how when we played them, he made like 70 passes. There are teams where the striker gets 10 to 20 touches and like 2-3 of them are a goal, sure, but it all starts from the goalkeeper. And I think we're in an era now where I've seen some lower league matches recently where like non-league English teams, and you can see that this kind of Pep Guardiola era of coming to the Prem is impacting the wider grassroots of English football. Like there are
Yeah.
lower league, non-league teams
You see
trying to
Sunday
play in the
league
same
teams
way.
trying it, yeah.
This is what I mean. So now everyone's playing from the back. Goalkeepers have to be good technically as much as a midfielder, for example. They're no longer just players who are good with their hands to save the goal. So it's just a different era. And I think from me, like I know Raya, one thing I've read, and I wonder what you think about this, is if you look at all the shots that people are trying to take at him, they're all top bins. So
Right.
because you can see, I don't know if you saw the T squad photo, Raya looked a bit shorter than Ramsdale.
Okay.
And I think what teams are doing is they're going for like, I think they feel that he's a good keeper. So they try to go for the perfect precision of the top
Yeah.
corners against him because they're worried that if they go for anything closer to him, he's too good and he'll get it. So they're
Okay.
trying to go for these top corner shots, but the odds go down significantly when you're trying to get top bins.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they're going for his one weakness, his height, but it reduces the quality of the chance because you've got to be pretty damn good to place it. And if you look at last season when we played them, Brentford, Vieira's goal was that top bins.
Yeah.
So if you look
True.
at a lot of the goals Raya concedes, they are top bins, like ones that no keeper could potentially save. So that's
Yeah.
quite something I thought was quite interesting for me just to keep an eye on. Like, will teams continue to try that basically? Will they, is that generally how opponents will score against us? Like outside the box shot into the top bins?
And that's
Is
what we're
that
good
like
at
the
as a
way
team.
through?
Like, yeah, we reduce teams to outside of the box shots more often than not. So that will be interesting to keep an eye on. But yeah, I
But
just
yeah,
think
so I
shot
think
stopping wise as well, Ramsdale is pretty. Like I know people will say, "Oh, he's made all these big saves and stuff," which he has, but he's also been at fault for a lot of goals where he should have done better. And statistically, he's not great, sort of thing. So yeah, I'm
and
chill with it personally.
I think let's go to Jesus, but before that, I just want to read this quote that I sent you from Alex Crook. And there's been a lot of talk about Ramsey and Raya on the timeline. The view is I saw an interview with Raya when he was asked about like how he like about starting the UCL, and he basically said like, look, like it's the manager's decision. It has nothing to do with me. And then he was just like, like I don't know who the manager will pick for Sunday, and he
Yeah,
said that's fine. And he said this might be the first time that you have two top quality goalkeepers at the same club. And he said, and we will both basically fight. And he just said, like, and if Aaron gets in the team, he will need to do his best to make sure the team wins and does the best for the team. So
yeah,
that
I
his
saw that.
mentality was so elite. But
I know
now
what.
we, yeah. So
Sorry.
Raya is like he had that elite mentality, but then now it's come out in the media from like John Cross and Alex Crook, as I mentioned, that Ramsdale is basically like ready to try and fight and win his place back,
Yeah,
and
you can tell
he's
he's that
not
kind of
worried
guy.
about his decision for the future. He's not like suddenly thinking, "Oh, I need to leave Arsenal. I'm no longer number one." He wants to fight.
He'll go up a level. Like he's that. He's this is a guy that's kind of fucking come through like back-to-back relegations for God's sake. Like he's up there mentally. He's good. So
So that's good to
I
see
think
because
it'll
people's
benefit him.
view was it won't last more than one season. People
Yeah.
view that one of the two will leave, whoever ultimately doesn't end up being number one. But it'll be interesting to see if Arsenal can become like one of the first clubs who, going into next season, imagine they both stay and they both continue competing, like,
Yeah.
and they both continue getting better. Because we just want competition in every position, right? That's what Arteta's whole philosophy is. Like, no one's space
100%.
is secure. So that ruthlessness I like, and I think we need to change the way we think about goalkeepers. But yeah, just Jesus then, because obviously it was
Yeah.
his first start, and we missed him, man. I forget every time he's been out for a while. I forget just how much I love this guy. Like he
See, this is
changed
what I
our club.
don't like when
Like
I
he
hear
changed our
people.
club.
Yeah,
He
when
like
I
he
hear
literally changed
people
our
saying
trajectory.
about like people get far too. I think even like you asked last week, like will Nketiah get minutes? And I was like, no. Like Jesus is like a level. He's unbelievable in what he does for everything else around him. Like I've said this before, and like it probably sounds a bit exaggerated, but like I genuinely believe it. I don't think there's many centre forwards in world football that suit the style of football we want to play. Like he is absolutely tailor-made glove fit for this system and what we want out of our wingers, our offensive midfielders, even defensively for what he does. Like he's a joke. He's absolutely ridiculous, and like, yeah, he just elevates everything. So it gives us that level of unpredictability as well, where he'll just kind of he'll have the ball, he'll deadpan straight at you, and you'll drop a shoulder, and he's gone, and he finds 2 yards, and like, yeah, there was that one where he found a couple of yards for himself. Keeper made a good but very camera save, kind of diving to his left, and yeah, he's so fucking good, and if he can stay fit, holy shit, like that takes this whole team to another dynamic.
Yeah, I think his goal as well was so very well taken. I was honestly so impressed. It's just he makes it look like FIFA. He
I think it's
makes it
because
look
before
so
that
easy.
he just completely missed the ball with a chance, didn't he?
That was the one where he just completely, yeah, because that could have been a nice goal for him there as well. But I think with Jesus, obviously we talk about the fact that he's underperformed his like expected goals over a long stretch of years, like going all the way back to Man City. But he does have a great Champions League record. So
Yeah, he does.
because we always see his Premier League numbers, he's underperformed, but Champions League, he's generally been quite good in that tournament. So I'm keen to see. Obviously, we talk about we have a young squad, and not a lot of them have kind of experienced these big, midweek Champions League nights. But we do have about 5 or 6 players in that squad who have played Champions League. You got the likes of Zinchenko, Jesus, Jorginho, Havertz has scored the winner. Like I
Yeah,
think Jorginho got player of the tournament the year Chelsea won,
I'm not sure.
and he came
That was the
third
year
when
he
I think
got.
it was when he came third in Ballon d'Or with that
Yeah,
same year. So it's like we do have some players in this squad who have played at this level. Like it's not just completely new to us, right?
yeah, and
Like I
I
think
think
I was a bit nervous about would Champions League be like embarrassing because towards the end of the last years we were in it, there were definitely some very embarrassing results for us.
yeah, this is why I will never get on board with that narrative because I think it's incomparable. Like the whole football club is different. Like I literally look at it as like this. There's like Arsenal version 1 and Arsenal version 2. They're two completely different institutions, and even footballing wise, like there is. I think when people say, "Oh, they might be inexperienced in the Champions League," it's like I don't know where this thing comes from that it's like you have to have played in the Champions League to do well in the Champions League. It's like they're professional football players. Like they've played at the highest level internationally. Like they play the best teams in England. Like I don't know where this thing comes from. Like if you're good at football, you will be good at football. If they don't do well against other teams in the Champions League, it's because the other teams are better, in my opinion. It's not because
Mm.
they lack Champions League experience. Like, I don't really get that where that comes from. I think again, and
But
it's just
I
these
guess
like late.
yeah, but I would say that I would argue that if you put Champions League aside, I would say we aren't very experienced in cup competitions in general because we've been going out very early for a few years now. Like
Yeah,
bar that 2020 win in the
that
first half
that's
season,
more what I can get on
yeah.
board with. Though, like the psychology of like cup competitions in general, it's a different state of play, and it's a
Because it's
different.
once you get to knockouts as well, right? It's that idea that like it's 2 legs, and anything can
Yeah,
happen.
you
So
manage a
it's
tie
like
differently. Yeah, of
yes, you
course.
need, and I'm not sure we've like managed games in that way since 2020 when we were.
No.
Now we've had one-off games like Community Shields where we've won a few times, and but bar that late FA Cup run in 2020, it's been 3 years, and like
Yeah,
we've
but
not
this is what
got
I think.
very
This I
far.
think this group will shock a lot of people. Like, I don't think the outside clock how psychologically strong this group are,
Mm.
and I think like the title thing last year will play a big effect. Like you saw how they bounced back from when we didn't make the top four. Like this team, especially with like the addition of people like Declan Rice, and yeah, I know he's not available at the minute, but
I didn't even
Timber.
mention him. He's a European champion himself.
Yeah, Dan's in the chat. He'll like that.
The fact that we didn't
Um,
have to mention him when we talk about the UCL just shows like what a Rolls Royce. We have 2 Rolls Royces in him and Saliba. Like I feel
yeah,
so assured knowing those two are there. Like I just
yeah, I know.
like just they're so good. Like just as athletes, forget like just even if you forget the football side, just as athletes and pure physical specimen. Like I look at them and I'm like, these guys are incredible. Like they're so strong, so gifted, and just they both seem so like they're kind of very humble guys. I feel like they're hungry. They always want to learn. They're
Yeah.
not too big for their boots, as Stormzy would say. So yeah, I think let's quickly talk about Kai Havertz and then we'll preview the game. So yeah, what were your thoughts? Just we'll do this quick fire because I'm sure we'll discuss him in the predictions for the North
Yeah.
London derby. But do you think he did enough? I guess is the main question to lead with to start on Sunday, or do
Nope.
you think Vieira will start ahead of him?
I think Vieira should and will start ahead of him
Okay.
personally.
And is
I
there
thought
anyone
Havertz
else
was.
that could? Is there anyone else? Is there Smith Rowe too soon? Still needs to do more.
Yeah, he
Okay.
he
Nelson, any
didn't.
rogue chance of Nelson left wing and
Not for
Trossard
me.
eight?
Nah, I
No.
think with
Okay.
Trossard, yeah. For me, I think the lineup's very straightforward for Sunday. Personally, I thought for what as well. I thought Havertz was fine. Like you said, once he kind of went up top, he looked really good as well. But need to be seeing that consistently. To be honest, I've not seen enough of that to deserve to start on Sunday, especially with what Vieira's been doing. Because even Vieira, he came on and he kind of had that spark about him again and that intensity, which I personally didn't see last season. So.
He looks very different
Yeah.
from last season with that intensity. I think you're right. That's the main difference. I think it's done a world of good for him just settling into the new country. He's obviously, I think, best friends with Martinelli. He's rubbed off on him. Like
Yeah.
they're best friends. Like I love that. I love seeing the little cliques in the squad and who ends up being friends with who. Right. Cool. So let's look at this. Was our lineup versus Everton. So just seeing what will change. So for the podcast listeners, we had Raya in goal, White, Saliba, Gabriel Zinchenko, Odegaard, Rice, Vieira, Saka, and Ketia Martinelli. I don't think Martinelli's been completely ruled out yet.
He hasn't. No.
That concerns me because if he's not completely ruled out, it's like surely you either start him or you just don't put him on the bench at all. Like if he's any kind of risk, why would you put him on the bench to sub on? Like is it like
I agree with that?
Like we have so many players. Like
I think it's just more like if like he might just not be 100%, but he could be like 70, right? And it's like if you have some.
But then surely you then don't risk it because a hamstring, right? Like surely if someone's at 70, you don't take the risk. Like I don't. Like it's either you're fit and you start or you don't. In my opinion, in this with a hamstring, I mean with a hamstring because hamstrings can fuck you.
Yeah, no, they can. I think I'm just more like it's like what's the capacity of what they can tolerate, right? And it's like 90 minutes, sure, probably not, but 20, 15, sure, I think you can. But yeah.
So then for prediction, then we're saying, do we predict Raya to keep his place? I think so.
I think so, yeah. For me, I think the lineup is so straightforward. I think it's going to be Raya, White, Saliba, Gabriel Zinchenko, Rice, Odegaard, Vieira, Saka, Jesus, Trossard, for me personally.
I think I'd probably tend to agree. The only things I might say is a small chance Martinelli starts. Maybe it's more hopium than anything else for me, but it's a very small chance he does start. But it's nice to see Trossard get his first start of the season. That's shocking, isn't it? Like obviously at the Champions League, like he had such a great pre-season. I don't think he started.
I swear he started one earlier.
I don't think he started a single game this season, apart from the Champions League.
No, I could have sworn he has because I remember he got. Maybe I've got it wrong completely, but I could have sworn he started one and he went off and he didn't look great. But I may have got that completely wrong.
Oh, there was one where
I want to say it was Fulham.
Half-time. He got subbed at half-time, I think. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it was
the
Fulham.
One game he started and he got subbed at half-time. Who did he start instead of?
Nketiah, I think.
He played up front and then he got subbed at half-time. Yeah, that's what it was.
And the reason I brought that up was because I remember constantly saying Trossard deserves to start, but I'm not sure where it comes. Trossard deserves to start, but I'm not sure where it comes. And he started. He didn't do very well in that game.
He didn't look good. Yeah,
it was nice. Yeah, it was nice that he. It was nice that he actually kind of started and delivered in this game. Because even against Everton, I said this. I didn't think he was actually good when he came on. I thought he was very sloppy on the ball, but he had the key action that defined the game.
Yeah. But I think if Martinelli's not fit, like it's just like I'm pretty confident it's him who starts. There is an argument to be made that maybe Nelson could play there instead. But
I think there's an argument. I just don't think in a game of this magnitude.
I don't think he's going to do it in this magnitude. Yeah. I think you're right.
You're not going to see anyone that's not significantly contributed this season get significant minutes in the North London derby. No chance, in my opinion.
So I agree with your lineup. I'd say I'd stick to what you've said. My only question mark is I think Havertz might still start, but let's see.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I
Why is
still
that?
think that's the only position I think that he might start. I just think it's that whole kind of helping him find confidence. And I think
Interesting.
this is like a home game, home crowd.
This is where if that's the argument, I'm gonna shit all over it because I think
No, no,
we've showed
but
our.
it's also the opponents. So for me, it's like
Yeah.
this is the first team that's going to actually like come at us.
Yeah, that's true.
And I do wonder if someone with his running intelligence, like his just decision making of where to run, maybe this is the game he can finally like
Yeah.
announce himself to the Arsenal fans. I really hope for his sake that he just bags a goal against Tottenham or something, or the winner. I was hoping the same against United. I was hoping the same against Champions League. I just need him to announce himself. So maybe it's no logic beyond just that Vieira now feels like he's worked his way into the fans' good books. I just want Havertz feels to me like the last player in our squad that is still like iffy by people's perspectives. And
Yeah.
I'd like us to back everyone and show everyone love, as Arteta said, like show him love and see what he can do.
Yeah.
So I just want him to do something that gets him the love from the people who maybe are hesitant on him so far.
Yeah. I think that the reason I said I was very harsh when I said shit on the idea. It's more like I don't think Arteta lets sentiment dictate his thing because otherwise Ramsdale would have got the first start in the
That's
Champions
true.
League as the keeper that
After
got us there. And
bringing us back, right?
Vieira
Yeah.
started last week against Everton. So I think if there's any chance Havertz starts, it will only be tactical. I don't think it will be the kind of arm around the shoulder, like let him see what he can do for the home crowd. I think it will only be
So the
on
tactical side
what
for
you
me would
said
be
of if they come at
Jesus.
you.
Yeah, so for me it would be the idea of Jesus and Havertz linking up against a team that plays to our strength by running at us and trying
Yeah.
to have possession. Because at the moment, like Vieira is fantastic too, and I've noticed he says way more direct now, and he's really trying to make things happen. But I do wonder if he sees Vieira as someone who can change the game off the bench now. So
Okay.
similar to how Trossard was that guy for him for a while, he'd always bring on Trossard at the end of last season, for example.
Even though he started last week.
Yeah, but I think that was almost like for me, it was like with Havertz, I feel like it was like I need to show that if you're not performing, you are not
Sure.
untouchable. So I feel like he
Okay.
made that point now. And I reckon in training behind the scenes, Havertz will build on his performance in the second half on Wednesday and give Arteta a headache. But I think so what I'm trying to get is I don't think Vieira himself did so much with his start.
No.
His great performances were off the bench too. So it's
Yeah.
almost like I feel like neither of them are like a definitive starter. So it's
That's
almost
what
like
I'd
it's a
agree
good
with.
question
Yeah.
mark for us to have because now it's
100%.
who trains best between Wednesday and Sunday. That's the one that will start.
Yeah, I definitely agree that, neither of them have kind of locked that down. But I just think with what I've seen so far and thinking how the game will go, I think because even Havertz, I take the point about his intelligent movement and stuff, but I've still not consistently seen the urgency and power in his movement for me to justify selecting him in this game.
Yeah.
Like
It's an important game, yeah.
his runs are, in my opinion, inconsistently intelligent, and that's not good enough so far. I need to see more to justify that personally.
Cool. Let's look at the opponents lineup.
Yeah, let's look at the
Sheffield United.
fucking scum. How do they line up?
So
Because they look annoyingly good.
Yeah, so got Vicario in goal, Porro, Romero, Van der Ven, Udogi, Sa and Basuma in the midfield, Kulusevski, Madison, Solomon, Son. I do
What do
wonder
you
if
think they'll
Solomon
do up
might
top?
not start this game. I'm not sure Solomon will start this game. I think Richarlison might get back in.
Okay.
Um,
And you think
and
Son will go out wide then?
I think Son will go out wide, and he will be asked to potentially help Porro or Udogi. I don't know which side he's going to go on, but he's going to be asked to help one of
Well, it
them
would
against
definitely be on. It would
on the
definitely be
Saka
on a
side, right?
doggy side.
Is that the Saka side, right? Yeah. I
Yeah.
was trying to figure out. Yeah. So yeah. So yeah, I think you go on the Udogi side on the left wing, and then Richarlison up top. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That's the main change. Yeah, I don't know anyone else I think they would change.
This game tactically, no, I agree. I think that will kind of be the team as well. And there'll only be one change, right? Like what you said, it will either be Solomon and Son up top, or if it's not Solomon, Son will go out wide and Richarlison up top. But I'm so intrigued by this game tactically because to give them their credit, they do look good. They're playing nice football. They're controlling the ball a lot more than what they've been used to the last 2 years. but I can't shake this feeling of, if you look at us this season, all we've played in the league, forget PSV for a minute, all we've played are teams that have looked to camp, like park the bus. Even Man United, they literally were looking to like just hit us on the counter. And this Spurs team, I think, will come to play. And they'll have periods where I think they'll have the ball and it will be a bit uncomfortable and stuff for us. But the fact that they're going to come and play us, I think people are kind of underrating us now, in terms of
They
how
think
we
we've
can.
not quite got an attacking flow, and
Yeah, and that's because of like we've had continuous low blocks against us. If this team comes out and plays us, and the way we press as well, I'm sorry, but like their keeper, he is suspect as fuck. Like Van der Ven and Van der Ven's very good defensively. I can't confess to have watched them too much to know how good he is on the ball. Romero, I think he's a very rash guy. I think he's a good defender, but I think he's extremely overrated in Spurs circles. Like, he's got a mistake in him consistently when he's under pressure. Udogie looks good, to be fair, but the way what they do, because they play like a 2-3, right? So they kind of invert both fullbacks. And I just think if you're telling me the three at times is Basuma, who is good, but I don't think he's this kind of untouchable, press resistant Musa Dembele-esque midfielder. And either side is Udogie and Porro. And the way we press, I think we can have some joy there. And also, if we do regain the ball, I think they'll struggle to cope with our movement and the way we like our interplay in tight spaces and half spaces, and the way we manipulate wide areas to get overloads is some of the best around. And I don't think they've faced a challenge like us yet. And like every game they've played has been, they've comfortably had the ball. They've not played a team that is consistently racking up 70 to 80% possession field till, which I know is causing so much shit on Twitter, but it's a stat
like
I love.
Spurs have been the team with the possession against their opponents. So
Yeah.
we're also about to face a team for the first time in the Prem this season that plays with the ball. Like they want the ball, they want to push up the
them
pitch.
to come and play, and I think we will fucking murder them in periods if they do. And like this, when I say murder them, I mean like they will be like twitchy asses 100% because they're not used to this, and this is Spurs in a nutshell. They've got into their head like they're this world-class team now and they're untouchable. This is what they do all the time.
We need to
Like,
go and stamp on them and kill
humble the shit out of them.
any energy or positive sentiment seeing them all after the match, arms linked, like going pushing Richarlison to go see the crowd and get the fans love, like all of them acting like they're having a great time. Like we need to fucking stamp on that good fucking mentality and crush them. We need to do what Man City have been doing to us. When Man City saw us sprouting, they were like,
they took a dump on it.
Have you seen how KDB thinks about us at any given opportunity? When
Yeah,
who's the best playmaker in the league? Bruno. I'm like, fuck off, bro. It's Odegaard. So he hates us, and there's a reason. And we need to do this now. We need to be the next group that are like, wait a second. These Tottenham guys are they're starting to sprout, you know. They're actually looking good. Someone needs to go and fucking crush their spirit.
And that's the thing. Like, this is what
they
I'm
are
not
looking
taking.
good.
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
want
not
this to
taking away
keep
from
growing.
that.
I don't want them to get too excited. I don't want them to get a big win, historic fucking day at the Emirates and keep capitalizing on their momentum. We need to crush their soul. We need to set them back another few months. That's what we need to do.
Yeah,
we need to make them doubt themselves.
No, yeah, I think for me, it's not like there is that, but it's just fundamentally we're a better football team than them, and we're further in our journey than them. Like I don't.
But that's why we need to crush them. That's what I mean. We need to be ruthless. Like City did that to us, right? Over the years, that 5-0 at the start of the season, they never even attempted to like care. Like they just every time they came and they were like their players wanted to kill us, and I think we need our players to feel that way.
I'm not quite there with that. I don't want this to become an emotional game. I want this to be a football game because tactically we're better than them. And this is what I'm trying to illustrate. They've not played a team as tactically switched on as we are. And I think there'll be periods where it's men v boys. I really do. Like I'm not saying that kind of equates to a guaranteed result, but there will be large periods where they are overwhelmed by how we manipulate and move the ball with speed and intricacy. They've not played a team that can do that yet. And I think they're going to be in for a shock in periods because I genuinely believe this group of players have kind of bought into how good they think they are, which they are. They're a good team. They're coached by a very good manager. but they're not the top team. They're not one of the top two in the country. And I think there'll be large periods where they get put in their place a bit. And I'm just hoping it equates to the actual result.
So do you think they'll score? I guess that goes on to kind of like the score prediction, because in the
Yeah.
chat we've got Marsh is saying I'm pretty confident.
Should we go
they'll
into
score.
it? Score predictions?
Yeah, let's do score predictions. Good to see you, FPL manager, buddy.
He's
Been a
Spurs,
while,
isn't
man.
it?
Yeah, I know. It's been a while,
Remy,
man.
how you doing, man?
Remy, yeah, how have you been, buddy?
I hope you have the shittest fucking day of your life on Sunday.
We can be friends on Monday, but until then, we're enemies. So I'll go first this time. I think that there's two score lines that I'm thinking. So one is a 2-2, and that's like the worst case scenario for me. Hopefully, I don't like. I'd like to think that a draw is the worst case scenario, but it could be worse. But best case, I think they come for us and they continue playing the free flowing attacking football. And as you say, like, hopefully we can kind of show that we're a few more years into that process and we kind of have more there to play them at their own game. And in that scenario, I would go for like a 3-1.
Okay.
So I think it's one of those situations where the
last
game
season, right? I want to say.
So I feel like the game is going to be like 1-0 to them or 1-0 to us. One of us equalizes. One team goes 2-1 up. And then it's ultimately going to be the team that went ahead either completely kills off, so us kills them off and goes to 3-1, or they get an equalizer and sucker punch us. So that's the way I'm seeing the game play out. It's kind of like, once it's 2-1 to us, do they draw or do we get one more? That's how I'm predicting it. And I'm not sure. I think I'm going to go for the 3-1 because I'm biased. my brain says 2-2 is realistic, but my heart says 3-1.
So what are you going? What am I putting on the spreadsheet? 3-1, yeah.
3-1. That's what my heart says. My head says 2-2. I just feel like they are generally in a very good place. The fans are connected to the club. The players are playing well. They're playing attractive, exciting football. Like, this is the first time they've come to the Emirates in years where I feel like, oh damn, like these guys are actually balling out. They're actually playing good football.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park. I just think over the course of 90, with added time, probably 98 minutes, the quality levels will show. But yeah, it's annoyingly, I see a lot of similarities in them and us last season in terms of the vibes around the club, like a manager that kind of gets what it means to manage your football club, the unity between supporters and the players, watching attractive football. So I can understand why they've got optimism and enthusiasm with where they're headed. I just think there is still that element of they've not played a team that are as good as us. And I feel like this is what I said recently, right? The kind of level of control has been bubbling. I said the fluidity was like a little bit off, but it feels like we're purring and we're slowly clicking. And I could think, I can see Sunday things just clicking disgustingly. One thing I do want to acknowledge, like, feel like your first question was, do I think Spurs will score? Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And because they do have the ability to hurt us. I think that's the thing. Like, one thing I'm actually a bit nervous on is when they do go in their 2-3s, I think they have the ability, if they beat our press, to potentially overload us. And one thing I'm a bit nervous about is how we tend to kind of leap. We know how good he is, so we do it, but we leave Declan Rice on an island on his own. And I think if you've got like Sarr, who is a very good runner, kind of going one side, and then you've got Maddison, who's a good runner and ball progressor on the other, I do worry about if someone like Maddison picks up the ball in areas that could hurt us. Like, his final ball and decision making is very good. So I do think they'll score. But like I said, I think one thing that Arsenal fans will probably struggle to come to terms with is Spurs. Like, you know how when we played Brighton last season, it was very uncomfortable for us in large periods because Brighton had the ball for a lot of times and they were moving us about. I think Spurs will have the ball in periods quite a lot. Whether we
won't be used to it, like we'll be like, what's going on? Like, they've got more possession than us at our ground.
Whether they're effective consistently enough in what they can do with it because of how well structurally we're drilled is another question. But I think initial possession, they'll have a lot of it. I just hope our press is spot on, that we have them in areas where we want them to have it. But yeah, like I said earlier, I just think there's going to be periods in the game where we show absolute levels in terms of tactical superiority in the way we manipulate opposition structures, have overloads all over the pitch. And I just think if they get caught in areas where they're uncomfortable and we've got triangles of Trossard, Vieira or Havertz, and then Zinchenko kind of dictating things. We've got Saka, Odegaard, Ben White underlapping, overlapping. You've got Jesus kind of moving everyone around. Like Romero and Van der Ven have not played a Gabriel Jesus-esque striker yet. He has the... And you
He's
can
a
tell.
handful. He's stressed. You do not want to deal with him. Like he just
No.
does not stop. Like I think you get 5 minutes from him, it will be the best 5 minutes of his life. It will be like whatever he does, he will put his 900%
That was another pod I heard
into it.
say that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they were saying it was a quote from Pep originally.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that's what it was. It was Guardiola had said, like, because you remember he says the best pressing centre forward in the world,
yeah,
and the best defensive pressing centre forward in the world. So it's that idea that he just does not stop working. Like he's just relentless with his work. So I'm so glad to see him back, man. Like
with all of that,
it's a ceiling raiser.
With all of that in mind, and yeah, if you're in the chat, let us know your score predictions. I'm curious to see what Remy's is as the Spurs fan. But with all of that in mind, I'm going 3-2 to the Arsenal. And I think
a lot of goals. Yeah.
As much as we're going for control this season, I think Spurs do have the ability to hurt us, but I just think our quality will shine through.
I think that's fair. So Remy does say he thinks Arsenal will get more chances, but Spurs will get a few too. So
yeah.
I if I was to warrant a guess, I think this is that type of game where we're going to concede like 10 shots, like 10 shots plus, like double digits.
As long as they're outside of the box, I don't care.
Yeah, that's all I'm praying for, that our system makes them low quality positions to shoot from. But I think they're going to get a lot of shots and a lot of possession. So this is going to be an interesting game. So 3-1 to the Arsenal. So Pontus has the same prediction as me. Marsh says, I want to see Martinelli come on and do his control with the back thing again. Absolute disrespect. And then we got the classic Clayton line. We will fucking murder them.
Classic Clayton? Oh, I was thinking, what's the classic Clayton line? We'll fucking murder them.
To be fair, there was a sentence before that about like if they come and play and try to attack us. I don't know. Like we don't think Ange will be pragmatic and try to defend. I think he'll just play his way, like his style, right?
Yeah.
I don't see him changing that.
No, me either. So
So I think there's no point thinking about them parking the bus. I don't think that's what they're going to be doing. So, well, it's been a pleasure to see everyone. We will see you for the review of the North London derby next week. That will be a big one. I think we'll probably try to do it on the Monday if that works, but we'll put a tweet out soon. Otherwise, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, please do hit that like button or subscribe if you're new to the channel. If you're listening on podcast, any review you leave on Spotify, Apple, or wherever else is hugely appreciated. But yeah, otherwise we will see you guys all next time. Big weekend for the Arsenal.
I'm literally, so the game's 2:00 and I'm going to be in the area from 9:30 a.m. So fucking bring it on. Put these motherfuckers back in their box. Up the Arsenal. Come on.
Up the Arsenal. We'll see you next time, guys. Peace.